The 1967 collapse of the Silver Bridge transformed the Mothman into a global icon of tragedy. For decades, the towering figure with red eyes has been viewed as a grim harbinger of disaster, the ultimate winged mystery of the American Midwest. But 14 years before West Virginia's bridge fell, a far more complex humanoid appeared in a Texas neighborhood. It established a pattern of high strangeness that most cryptid hunters are only now starting to decode. The encounter began at 2:30 a.m. on June 18, 1953, in the Houston Heights. 3 neighbors, including Hilda Walker, were sitting on a porch to escape the humid night air when they saw a massive shadow sweep across the lawn. The figure stood over 6 feet tall, bounding with unnatural grace into a nearby pecan tree. The observers described a man-like form surrounded by a dull gray glow. It appeared to be wearing a black paratrooper suit and knee-length boots, with bat-like wings attached to its back or shoulders. For 30 seconds, the neighbors were held in a state of shock-induced paralysis. When the youngest witness finally screamed, the entity vanished with a loud swoosh, coinciding with a torpedo-shaped object flashing white as it streaked across the sky. This combination of biological wings and military attire and a nearby craft defies the logic of standard zoology. It suggests the Houston Batman isn't a creature at all, but something that requires an entirely different set of analytical lenses. A common starting point is the biological lens. If we assume the witnesses were mistaken, we can look for large local birds, like a great horned owl or a sandhill crane, whose reflective eyes and massive wingspan might distort in the dark. This theory falls apart when we account for the specific details of the 1953 report. No local bird wears a tight-fitting tactical suit, makes a mechanical takeoff sound, or operates in tandem with a torpedo-shaped aerial vehicle. Because the facts of the case exceed the capabilities of any known animal, we have to look toward the geopolitical and technological context of the era. The 1953 sighting occurred during a massive surge in UFO reports across North America. Military pilots were recording high-speed cigar-shaped objects and circular craft moving at over 1,000 miles per hour, placing the Houston Batman right in the middle of a Cold War aerospace flap. The phenomenon returned 33 years later at the Johnson Space Center. In 1986, a NASA archivist named Frank Shaw was walking to his car when he spotted a jet-black, gargoyle-like figure perched on the edge of a facility building. Shaw reported that the being stared directly at him, seemingly savoring his terror, before its wings unfurled with a loud crackling sound. When Shaw confided in his supervisor, he was told a secret file already existed, opened after 2 security dogs were found mutilated and drained of blood in that same area. Soon after, security personnel from Arizona arrived to interrogate Shaw and enforce his silence. These specific anomalies, the technological suits, the official suppression, and the focus on aerospace sites, align with the Echo Vault hypothesis. This theory suggests the visitor is a human from a parallel strand of reality, arriving from a technologically advanced timeline that is currently in a state of collapse. In this framework, the paratrooper gear is a functional traversal suit designed for travel between these realities. The gray glow reported by the witnesses acts as a stabilization field, allowing a physical form to manifest and remain present within our own timeline. This aerospace lens frames the entity as an intelligent interloper. It appears to be observing human progress at key nodal points, from the early jet era of the 1950s to the height of the space shuttle program. There is a third possibility to consider: the psychological framework. Researchers use the term zooform phenomena for entities that look like creatures but act as supernatural projections. The Houston Batman shares several distinct traits from a legend from Victorian London, Spring-Heeled Jack. This 19th-century figure was famously described as a tall, thin man wearing a tight-fitting oilskin suit and a flowing cape. Across 2 different centuries, the descriptions remain identical. Both entities wear tight-fitting gear, possess glowing eyes, and utilize a paralyzing gaze to incapacitate their witnesses while demonstrating impossible leaping abilities. These similarities suggest that the Batman might be an archetypal projection, a physical manifestation of the deep societal anxiety that always follows these periods of rapid, disorienting technological change. The original site of the 1953 encounter on East 3rd Street is gone. Every physical trace of the neighborhood where Hilda Walker sat has been completely erased from the urban landscape. The residential block was demolished and paved over, replaced by the massive concrete interchange of Interstate 10 and the Katy Freeway. But the destruction of the site did not stop the sightings. The phenomenon simply adapted to new urban structures, like the Bel Air Theater, where employees in the 1990s reported a gigantic, helmeted man crouching on a rooftop downtown. Houston is a city built on the high-tech logic of aerospace engineering and massive infrastructure. Yet within that rational world, an ancient, irrational presence continues to observe from the high perches of the city. We can build highways over the past and launch shuttles into the future, but no amount of concrete can pave over a primal fear of the unknown. The shadows will always find a place to land.